Now I finally have time to do what I've always wanted. Write the great American novel. Mine is about a futuristic amusement park where dinosaurs are brought to life through advanced cloning techniques. I call it Billy and the Clonosaurus.
Oh, you have got to be kidding, sir.
The term Great American Novel was coined by John William DeForest in an 1868 essay. He described it as a canonical novel that captures and deconstructs the spirit and character of the United States. At the time, DeForest believed the Great American Novel had yet to be written. In the 150 some odd years since he coined it, the term Great American Novel has been applied to everything from Moby Dick to American Psycho. There are a few common picks for the fabled Great American Novel. Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is a mischievous portrait of boyhood set against the harsh antebellum South.
What did you just call me?
I thought that was your name.
That is our word. You've got no right using it.
Hey, I'm cool. No problem. Could you pass me the N-word, Jim?
The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald is a literary snapshot of the Roaring Twenties and a sobering character study of the unfulfilled millionaire, the self-made man who achieved the American dream and earned his fortune but still isn't happy.
You know what we should do? Let's all drunk drive into Manhattan and get a hotel room and have the same conversation we're having here. I'm starting to think this isn't a very good book.
J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye is a quintessential tale of angst and rebelliousness. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee is a quintessential tale of racial injustice and one man's fight for the truth. And John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath chronicles the impoverished struggles of the Great Depression. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy is a bleak, bloody western tackling the genocide of Native Americans, the atrocity upon which the United States was built. David Foster Wallace's sprawling tome Infinite Jest is the definitive postmodern turn of the 21st century American novel, what with its unconventional structure and its footnotes with their own footnotes and all. Every one of these books is a solid candidate for the Great American Novel, but the Great American Novel shouldn't just be a good story written by an American author. It should capture the America of its time with brutal honesty, the way Steinbeck chronicled the Dust Bowl. It should reflect the lives of the American people, the way Hemingway chronicled the post-war expat experience. It should answer some fundamental questions about American society, the way Lee held a mirror up to racial inequality in the Deep South. For my money, the Great American Novel, especially for the modern era, isn't a novel at all. It's David Simon's groundbreaking HBO series The Wire. No American novel from the 21st century has captured America's dark side and captured the triumph of the American spirit, quite like the greatest achievement in American television. The Wire asks, why is America the way it is? Why is the country so divided between class, ethnicity, political beliefs? And it explores those questions through the country's broken institutions, the public school system, the healthcare system, the so-called justice system, the government as a whole. The Wire is structured more like a work of literature than a TV drama. It has chapters from the point of view of different characters like a multi-perspective novel. Its social commentary is framed through the messy lives of flawed but lovable characters, like a sex-crazed detective and a business-savvy drug lord. The show jumps all over its sprawling ensemble. Depending on what the story demands, it might neglect major characters for weeks at a time. Each season of The Wire introduces a brand new cast of characters as it examines another broken institution of the American city. It's the opposite of the usual approach to TV, where showrunners will hone in on the characters that audiences are responding to and sideline everyone else. Family Matters was all too happy to shift focus away from the blue-collar Winslow family and turn into the Steve Urkel show. But The Wire didn't do the same for Stringer or Bunk or Lester. Simon told his characters' stories more like a novelist. He didn't write superfluous material for Omar just because the audience fell in love with Omar. He just followed the characters that would help him tell the story he was telling and make the point he was making. The Wire doesn't have a main character. The main character is the city of Baltimore. Simon approached the series as a piece of investigative journalism. He'd spent years working as a crime reporter in Baltimore, so he knew the city and its police force and its criminal underworld like the back of his hand. He used Baltimore Baltimore as a microcosm of America as a whole. The problems affecting this particular city are the same problems affecting the country at large. As a journalistic investigation into the systemic problems embedded in American society, The Wire has an almost documentary-like sense of realism, verisimilitude. It's even shot like a shaky cam fly-on-the-wall documentary. But in broad strokes, its narrative plays like a Greek tragedy. Simon and his writers told grand mythic stories in the framework of this fiercely realistic police procedural. Much like in a Greek tragedy, the characters tragically seal their own fate with their questionable life choices. Omar is like Achilles, the seemingly unstoppable warrior who's cut down when he's weakened by a broken ankle.
Let me get one of them too.
Stringer is killed by his own hubris and entombed within the legitimate business that was supposed to get him out of the game when two of his many enemies team up against him.
Well, get on with it, motherfucker.
It's an epic morality tale set on the streets of Baltimore. Any great American novel worth its salt should comment on the state of the nation. The Grapes of Wrath depicted the devastation caused by the Dust Bowl. American Psycho tackled the Reaganomical boom of soulless corporatization. Jonathan Franzen's Freedom captured post-9/11 disillusionment. And that's what The Wire did best. Through the complicated lives of its dozens of characters, The Wire touched on just about every pressing social issue affecting Americans' lives today. It looked at race relations, the class divide, police brutality, and the people that enable it.
Why am I swinging?
Maybe about 8 o'clock.
Hey!
It's enough. Well, hey, you might want to have that looked at.
And over surveillance in a post-Patriot Act America. The Wire demonstrates how the United States creates its own criminals. People below the poverty line, failed by the system, resort to a life of crime to survive. It highlights an untrustworthy media landscape that treats news more as entertainment than information.
Fear-based right-wing agenda-pushing news stories. Fear-based right-wing agenda-pushing news stories. Fear-based right-wing agenda-pushing news stories.
Bubbles' story highlights the disease of addiction and the humanity of addicts, who are often portrayed in the media as a statistic. The series went into the underfunded public services that keep the living conditions of the 99% so far beneath that of the 1%. In Season 4, The Wire took us inside the walls of an inner-city public school, where good kids are being set up to fail. When Cutty is shot in the street, he gets the bare minimum treatment in a hospital because he doesn't have health insurance. In Season 3, the show tackled political corruption and empty campaign promises through the slimy power players of Baltimore's local government. Through the political career of Tommy Carcetti, The Wire shows that even politicians who want to make a difference and effect positive change are hobbled by a system designed to maintain a certain status quo. Despite their best intentions, people like Carcetti eventually become jaded and give up. Instead of trying to effect change from his current station, Carcetti keeps going after higher and higher public offices. He naively tells himself he's biding his time before he reaches a position where he can make a difference. He goes from city councilor to mayor to governor, and still thinks he needs to get elected into Congress to do anything worthwhile. Carcetti could become the president and he'd still be making excuses that he's not powerful enough to change the system from within. And the series hammers it home that, sadly, that would probably be true, because this system isn't set up to be changed or innovated or allow for basic human decency. The Wire doesn't have any answers to these problems, nor should it. That's not Simon's job. But it does open your eyes to why they exist and why they're unfortunately not going anywhere anytime soon.
But the game is out there, and it's either play or get played.
The Wire is a modern-day Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, a quintessentially American tale of a noble individual standing up to a corrupt institution. There's a long history of these individual versus the establishment stories. In Paths of Glory, Kirk Douglas stands up to a military bureaucracy that ordered his men on a suicide mission. In One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I did a video on recently, you should check it out, Jack Nicholson stands up to the dreaded Nurse Ratched, the cold-hearted dictator ruling over her drugged-up, docile patients. The Wire had a bunch of characters like that. Daniels ends up quitting the police force altogether and fighting for justice in court instead, because he refuses to submit fraudulent statistics to make the department look like it's doing a better job than it is.
The tree that doesn't bend breaks, Cedric.
Been too far. You're already broken.
This theme is best exemplified by Bunny Colvin's story. Colvin tries to fix the broken system with radical experiments like Amsterdam. Much to his superior's chagrin, Colvin designated an area of the city where crime was essentially legal. He hoped to move all the undesirables there and leave the surrounding neighborhoods relatively crime-free. To his credit, it did kinda work.
You can't argue with the results.
After getting in trouble for Amsterdam, Colvin's next experiment was a bit more legit. Field research in a University of Maryland study. He identified two types of West Baltimore school kid. The stoop kids who obey their parents and respect authority, and the corner kids who deal drugs, don't respect authority, and aspire to be gangsters. To test his theory that these kids need a different kind of education, he separates some corner kids into their own class and inspires them to live up to their full potential. Despite his best efforts, Colvin ultimately can't fix the school system. He can't even get in a room with the guy who could. But he still makes a difference in his own small but meaningful way. He doesn't make Baltimore's public schools any better, but he adopts Naaman, gets him out of the game, and raises him as his own son. Colvin is the living embodiment of think globally, act locally.
I mean, you put a textbook in front of these kids, put a problem on a blackboard, or teach them every problem on some statewide test, it won't matter. None of it. Because they're not learning for our world, they're learning for theirs. And they know exactly what it is they're training for and what it is everyone expects them to be.
I expect them to be students.
But it's not about you or us.
This whole storyline highlights the best and worst of America. It shows us that while the US does produce a lot of crooked shitbags, many of whom are currently running the country into the ground, it also produces heroes and big dreamers and outside-the-box thinkers like Abraham Lincoln and Harriet Tubman and Bunny Colvin.
Bunny?
Only my friends call me Bunny.
Yeah, but why?
You don't need to know. And if you tell anybody, I'll cut your balls off. I'll cut them off, give them $1 and a job. Don't doubt me, boy.
The typical MO of a TV show is to maintain a status quo. The idea is to set up characters and a location that audiences can come back to week after week for years and years, sometimes even decades. But The Wire never subscribed to that. Simon reinvented the show every season and brought in a new cast of characters to explore a new area of Baltimore in each volume of his magnum opus. The writers never caved to what the audience was responding to. They only utilized fan-favorite characters like Omar when they served the story they were telling and the social issue they were probing. Season 1 revolved around Major Crimes' quest to take down the Barksdale organization, but Season 2 pivoted to the docks so it could explore the death of the working class. Audiences were expecting to go back to the housing projects for more storylines involving drug dealers and cops chasing them in Season 2. But Simon had already said everything he had to say about the illegal drug trade. Season 1 had concluded that story and concluded its thesis on the futility of fighting the drug biz. By the end of the season, McNulty and co. finally made a move on their wiretap operation and arrested Avon. But even though they successfully put Avon behind bars, the wheels kept turning and the gap he left in the market was immediately filled.
All in the game, yo.
It was a perfect statement on the never-ending cycle of crime. Instead of rehashing that statement in Season 2, Simon made a different statement about a different social issue. Going forward, that became the show's style. Each season would hit the reset button and introduce a new cast of characters in a new setting. Season 3 went inside the city government to show why politicians can't get out of their own way. All of Carcetti's plans to positively change the system from the inside fall by the wayside as he selfishly focuses on advancing his own career. He abandons his values and the promises he made when he sets his sights on the mayor's office. Season 4 goes to the root of the problem, the public school system. We're introduced to a group of bright young boys who would have a promising future ahead of them if their circumstances were different. It's heartwarming to see Presbo's redemption arc, a stand and deliver storyline inspiring his inner city students to follow their dreams, but it's devastating to see those kids grow up to be criminals. In The Wire's 5th and final season, Simon turned his critical lens on the show itself, or more broadly on the media. As McNulty fabricates a serial killer to secure more funding, and a journalist fabricates stories to boost newspaper sales, we see that the media serves its own agendas, and even a series like The Wire oversimplifies these issues.
Sensationalize it. Give the killers some fucked up fantasy, something bad, real bad. It's got to grip the hearts and minds, give the people what they want from a serial killer. Lester, what the fuck? No, you're onto something.
The fake serial killer storyline was criticized for being too far-fetched and sensationalist for such a realistic show. Up to and including Season 4, The Wire was widely praised for its authentic portrayal of the communities and institutions it depicted. But in its final season, it veered away from that realism into an unbelievable plot that would have felt more at home in the cliched police procedurals that The Wire had initially subverted. In an attempt to gain more funding for the homicide department, McNulty dresses up some murder scenes to create the impression that there's a serial killer slaughtering homeless people across Baltimore. While While this storyline does feel like a departure from the series' established tone, I still love it. The Wire uses its made-up serial killer as a springboard to explore the media. The season's B-plot takes place in a fictionalized version of the Baltimore Sun's newsroom, with various reporters and editors reacting to the supposed homeless murders. Tom McCarthy plays Scott Templeton, a journalist who has a habit of tweaking the truth. At first, he just embellishes the details of real stories to sound more interesting and dramatic, but eventually he's fabricating entire reports. Clark Johnson plays Gus Haynes, an editor who values facts and truth above all and grows suspicious of Templeton's work. This storyline was way ahead of its time. When the season aired in 2008, many critics, particularly David Zurawik, writing for the Baltimore Sun itself, criticized the newspaper storyline for being unrealistic. But within a decade, it wouldn't seem so unrealistic. The prevalence of online journalism and social media led to the death of facts and the rise of disinformation. In a post-fake news world, a lot of news sources can't be trusted and will either misrepresent the truth or make up outright lies to manipulate public opinion and propagandize political talking points.
This is a Fox News! Yeah, America!
News media has become a complete shit show. There are a lot more Scott Templetons working in journalism today than there are Gus Hayneses. When the news media was first invented, it existed simply to present facts and report events in a plain, unbiased way. But in the last few decades, with the advent of TV and the internet, the news has gotten more and more salacious and sensationalistic and scandal-mongering. News media is a business, and as that business has grown to incorporate hundreds of competitors all vying for their audience's attention, the media has started using duplicitous tactics to stand out. Now, a lot of news sources prioritize entertainment over truth. It's more important to get clicks than to speak the truth. The Wire's Season 5 storyline criticized this phenomenon long before it became as widespread and destructive as it is today. The in-universe Baltimore Sun articles about a serial killer who doesn't exist aren't too far off from real-world disinformation about presidential elections and the COVID pandemic. This so-called newstainment, turning current events into a soap opera, is as dangerous as any fictional serial killer. After looking at government bureaucracy and the horrors of drug addiction, a critique of the media was the perfect theme to end the series on. After criticizing the glaring flaws in the police, the courts, and the class system, The Wire criticized itself. Ultimately, shows like The Wire are part of the problem, because they take these issues that are keeping America divided and turn them into digestible entertainment. In many ways, The Wire's critique of the media was a self-critique.
Trapped in the same lie. Only difference is I know why I did it. Fuck if I can figure out what it gets you in the end. But hey, I ain't part of your tribe.
You're not serious, you
No. No, I'm a fucking joke. And so are you.
Closure is a key tenet of traditional TV dramas. The crime scene investigators in CSI always catch their guy in time for the end credits. When a character like Hank Schrader is killed in cold blood, he gets to go out on a triumphant end-of-the-road monologue.
My name is Asac Schrader. You can go fuck yourself.
The good guys usually defeat the bad guys, and they all live happily ever after. The Wire threw that closure out the window in favor of a much more authentic and ambiguous approach to storytelling. Cases go unsolved, characters are unceremoniously killed, and justice is rarely served. It's a lot closer to the literature of Cormac McCarthy than a standard case of the week TV crime drama.
I say we go to court.
Yes, let's go to court.
We're a bunch of assholes who take up a whole hallway with our conversation.
Omar didn't get his Asac Schrader moment. He was just shot dead by a 10-year-old drug dealer.
Let me get one of them too.
Most cop shows, especially before The Wire came along, operated on a case-of-the-week format. Each episode introduces a new case and solves it within the hour. But it doesn't work like that in real life. A lot of cases go cold, some don't get solved at all, and building a case against a powerful criminal figure like Marlo Stanfield can take years. Even when you manage to get an Avon Barksdale behind bars, that gap in the market is filled immediately and the cycle continues. The Wire's serialized storytelling went against every phony cliche of the police procedural genre and captured this frustrating futility perfectly. It was the first true police procedural, an intensely realistic chronicle of painstaking police procedures, with no manufactured drama or fairy tale endings. The Wire's pitch-perfect series finale encapsulated this thesis beautifully. As McNulty looks out at his city, we see glimpses of where everyone ends up. There are a small handful of happy endings. Bunny adopted Namond, Bubbles got clean and reconciled with his sister, but the systemic problems remain. Duquan becomes the new Bubbles, living on the streets and chasing his next fix. Michael takes Omar's place as the city's resident shotgun-wielding vigilante. Life goes on, the wheels keep turning, and despite everyone's best efforts, nothing has really changed. The Wire is a raw, profound, brutally honest examination of American society, warts and all. It might not be printed on paper, but it is the great American novel.
Way down in the hole. Way down in the hole. Way down in the hole. Way down in the hole.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.
Larry? Let's go home.